The paradox nobody wants to admit. Most people will never be rich. Not because the system is rigged, not because the government failed them, and not because they were unlucky. They stay poor because their habits are stronger than their goals. And here's the uncomfortable reality. People want success, but they can't tolerate the boredom, the discipline, the patience, and the emotional control that success demands. They crave stimulation. They chase trends. They look for shortcuts. Think about this for a second. We live in the most opportunity-rich era in human history. You can start a business from a phone. You can learn anything online. You can reach millions instantly. AI is multiplying productivity like nothing before. And yet, 90% of people will stay broke. Why? Because everything around them is faster, louder, and more distracting than ever, but human nature hasn't changed at all. The same emotions that bankrupted people in 1929, 2000, and 2008 are still running the show today, just wearing modern clothing. Modern design. Modern clothes. Greed didn't disappear. Fear didn't disappear. Envy didn't disappear. Overconfidence didn't disappear. And here's what most Americans completely overlook. Technology evolves, human nature. The apps are new. The distractions are new. The opportunities are new. But the psychology is ancient. This is why people keep making the same mistakes, just faster. Everything we're about to cover goes far deeper than money. It's about your behavior, your mindset, and the internal battles that decide whether you rise or stay stuck. And everything we've said so far is just the surface. The deeper problem begins in the next section. Let's break this down clearly, because the stakes have never been higher. 2025 isn't just another year. It's a pressure cooker disguised as a calendar. You can feel it every time you walk into a grocery store, open your bank app, or glance at the price of anything that used to be affordable. Groceries are expensive in a way that makes you double-check the receipt. Gas is volatile, swinging up and down like a mood swing you can't predict. Housing is out of reach for millions of Americans, even those working full-time jobs. Student loan payments are back, suffocating younger workers who already feel like they're years behind. And retirement? For the average family, it feels less like a milestone and more like a fantasy. People are stressed, overwhelmed, and confused. They're working harder than ever, yet somehow feeling poorer. They're not imagining it. They're stuck in an economic environment where everything moves faster than their paychecks, faster than their planning, and faster than their emotional bandwidth can process. And here's the punchline most won't admit. People aren't falling behind because the world got harder. They're falling behind because the world got faster. Inflation attacks the undisciplined, silently punishing those who don't track their spending. Debt buries the impatient, especially the ones who want everything now and are willing to finance their future away to get it. Lifestyle creep destroys the distracted. Every upgrade, every subscription, every treat-yourself purchase, chipping away at long-term stability. In social media, it magnifies envy until it becomes financial suicide. One scroll is all it takes for someone to feel like they're losing a race they never signed up for. You've probably felt this too. You're online, you see someone your age who suddenly made it. New car, new apartment, new income milestone, a new highlight reel. And without even realizing it, your biology reacts before your brain does. Your emotions fire before your logic has a chance to form a sentence. Suddenly, you feel behind. Suddenly, you feel inadequate. Suddenly, you feel the urge to speed up your progress, even if you're finally on the right path. And this single emotional impulse, this tiny flicker of envy, is what destroys more wealth in America than inflation ever could. Envy makes people abandon long-term plans. It makes them chase shortcuts, rush into trends, and sabotage years of progress in a single, impulsive decision. It whispers that everyone else is moving faster, even if you can't see the truth behind their curated image. But this is just one piece of the puzzle. The real problem isn't the economy. It's how people behave inside it. Because in 2025, discipline is rare, focus is rare, consistency is rare, patience is rare, and rarity is always an asset. The few who master these rare traits rise quietly. The many who don't fall noisily. Most people think they're losing because the system is unfair. The reality is harsher. They're losing because their emotions are untrained, their habits are fragile, and their decision-making collapses under pressure. They react instead of prepare. They imitate instead of think. They panic instead of plan. Everything you're about to hear next explains exactly why most people stay broke, even when opportunities are everywhere. Because the real battle isn't in the market, in the economy, or in the news cycle. It's in the mirror. And this is where the real story actually begins. Why human nature makes people poor. People stay broke because they lose to their own psychology, not the economy. Not inflation, not interest rates, not politics, not bad luck. They lose because their own emotions quietly sabotage their decisions long before the market ever does. Let's break it down piece by piece because understanding this is the difference between staying stuck for life and finally breaking free. 1. Comfort is a silent prison. Most Americans live the same loop for decades. Wake up, commute, work, come home exhausted, scroll for hours, basal, repeat. It feels normal. It feels safe. It feels familiar. But it's a prison with soft walls. You don't notice you're trapped because nothing feels painful. Everything feels fine, and that's the danger. Comfort destroys ambition quietly. It kills dreams in slow motion. It convinces people that stability is the goal, even when that stability is nothing more than stagnation. Comfort keeps people scared of risk. It keeps them scared of failure. It keeps them addicted to routines that give them zero chance of escaping financial mediocrity. And here's the punchline that should make you uncomfortable. Poverty is the price of staying comfortable. Wealth is the reward for being uncomfortable. Every wealthy person you admire at some point walked straight into discomfort, while everyone else stayed where it was warm, predictable, and easy. The ones who rise don't do so because they're gifted. They rise because they tolerate discomfort longer than others. Comfort feels safe, but it silently robs you of the future you say you want. 2. Excitement is the enemy. People hate this truth, but it never stops being true. Excitement empties pockets. Boredom builds wealth. The wealth-building formula is painfully boring. Spend less than you earn. Invest consistently. Hold for decades. Avoid stupidity. Repeat this until everyone else gets distracted. But people don't want boring. They want fireworks. They want drama. They want the rush of feeling like they've found something big before everyone else. They want the emotional high, not the logical outcome. So they chase crypto spikes, meme stocks, gambling disguised as investing, leverage they don't understand, AI shortcuts with zero foundation, hype cycles that collapse faster than they rise. And by the time the crowd hears about a trend, it's already too late. Only the early movers win. Everyone else becomes exit liquidity. The truth is simple. If you need excitement to stay consistent, you're not ready for wealth. 3. Envy destroys rationality. Charlie Munger said it perfectly. Envy is the only emotion that gives you nothing but takes everything. People don't blow up their finances because their plan was bad. They blow up their finances because someone else got rich faster. Envy convinces people that patience is losing. Envy tells them slow progress is embarrassing. Envy whispers that someone else's timeline matters more than their own. And when envy takes over, rationality disappears instantly. That's why people overlever out of desperation, chase hype because they're afraid of feeling left out, quit long-term plans the moment someone else wins, faster, buy at the absolute peak, sell at the absolute bottom. Envy is the most expensive emotion in America because it forces people to copy strategies they never understood and risks they were never prepared for. It blinds people to their own path and pushes them into decisions they were never emotionally equipped to handle. 4. Overconfidence plus ignorance equals disaster. Here's a paradox most people never recognize. A little knowledge is more dangerous than no knowledge at all. Most people think they're smarter than they are. They watch a few videos, read a few posts, and suddenly feel like investment geniuses. Their confidence skyrockets, but their actual understanding barely moves. Once someone believes they're certain, they stop seeing risk. They stop questioning their assumptions. They stop looking for blind spots. And that blindness destroys portfolios. Most Americans overlook this critical reality. The market doesn't reward intelligence. It rewards humility. The best investors don't think they're geniuses. They know they're not. That's why they avoid illusions, avoid leverage, avoid trends, and avoid thinking the rules don't apply to them. 5. Illusions that feel rational. People lie to themselves using financial language. They tell emotional stories disguised as strategies. I'm holding because it will recover. Translation: I can't emotionally handle admitting I was wrong. I'm buying because I don't want to miss out. Translation: I'm scared someone else is winning without me. This time is different. Translation: I desperately want this gamble to work. Everyone else is doing it. Translation: I have no real conviction of my own. These aren't financial decisions. They're emotional reactions wearing a suit. People don't lose money because they're dumb. They lose because they're dishonest with themselves. They justify emotional impulses as if they were rational plans. Self-delusion is more dangerous than lack of education because it gives you the confidence to destroy your financial life and feel smart while doing it. 6. They think like employees, not owners. This is one of the biggest divides in America today. Employees think in hours. Owners think in decades. Employees seek praise. Owners seek autonomy. Employees earn only when working. Owners build systems, skills, and assets that work even while they sleep. Employees ask, how much will I be paid for this hour? Owners ask, how can I remove myself from the equation entirely? And in today's world, with AI, automation, and global competition, skill security beats job security. Ownership beats employment. Autonomy beats approval. Ownership doesn't just mean starting a business. It means owning your habits, your time, your skills, your decisions, your future. If you don't own anything beyond your labor, you will always be at the mercy of someone else's decisions. 7. They can't survive the invisible years. This is the silent killer. Compounding looks like nothing is happening until everything happens at once. The early years of compounding feel like failure. No dramatic results. No visible progress. No validation. Most people quit right before suddenly, the moment when compounding accelerates, when consistency pays off, when boring habits explode into extraordinary results. They can't tolerate slow progress. They can't tolerate boredom. They can't tolerate being ignored. So they restart again and again. Every restart resets compounding. Every reset kills momentum. And that's why most people never experience the explosion of results that comes after the quiet years. But none of this compares to the biggest reason of all. And it reveals one of the harshest truths about human behavior. What you're about to hear next is the core psychological flaw that keeps 90% of people broke for life, no matter how much money they earn. Real life story. The American who did everything right and still stayed broke. Let me tell you a story you've probably seen before. Not in a movie, not in a textbook, but in your own life. A story so common in America that it feels almost invisible. We'll call him Michael. Michael is 26. He lives in Ohio in a modest apartment he barely notices anymore because life feels like one long routine. He works a normal job. Nothing spectacular, nothing terrible. The kind of job millions of Americans stay in simply because it's familiar. He believes he's doing everything right because on the surface, he checks all the boxes. He pays his bills on time. He doesn't overspend, or at least he tells himself he does. He keeps up with trends the same way everyone else does. He wants to invest, but only when investing feels exciting, when there's a rush, when there's a story behind it that scratches the itch for something bigger. Michael isn't reckless. He isn't irresponsible. He isn't lazy. He's simply normal. And this is exactly where his entire future begins to fall apart. Here's where everything goes wrong. Whenever the market is calm, Michael ignores it. When things are stable, predictable, boring, he feels no urgency to act. No excitement means no action. There's nothing to chase, nothing pulling at his emotions, and in Michael's world, if something isn't stimulating, it doesn't exist. But whenever the market crashes, something interesting happens. Michael panics. When stocks fall and headlines scream recession, his pulse rises, his anxiety spikes, and fear takes over. Fear makes him sell too soon, freeze when he should act, assume the world is ending even when it isn't. Then comes the opposite extreme. Whenever he sees someone online making $80,000 0 cents on Dogecoin or flipping an NFT or winning big on a trendy AI coin, Michael jumps in. He buys emotionally, invests from envy, reacts because someone else got rich faster. He doesn't understand the asset, the risk, or the timeline. He only understands that someone else is winning, and that's enough to pull him into decisions he's not prepared for. Then comes the cycle that kills most people's progress. When he hears about a new AI side hustle, he jumps in with excitement for 3 days. Then the novelty fades, the learning curve appears, boredom sets in, discipline is required, and Michael quits. Impatience becomes inconsistency. Michael doesn't lack opportunity, he lacks endurance. He can start anything, but he cannot finish anything. Whenever things get boring or progress slows or results aren't instant, he stops. Not because he's incapable or dumb, but because boredom feels like failure. No excitement means no motivation. No validation means no consistency. No visible progress means no reason to continue. And because of that, he convinces himself the problem is income. He imagines a raise, promotion, new career, lucky break, anything except the truth. The truth is brutally simple. Michael is broke because his psychology is broke. He chases noise, avoids boredom, reacts emotionally, quits early, copies the crowd, never builds anything long enough to see it compound. He confuses movement with progress, excitement with opportunity, trends with strategy. He's not stupid, hopeless, or unlucky. He's normal. And being normal is the most expensive mistake you can make in America. Normal people follow the crowd, react to fear, chase envy, and quit when things get difficult, all while believing they're doing fine. Normal keeps people in the same financial position year after year. Normal means no compounding, no growth, no escape. Being normal is financially fatal. Michael's life didn't fall apart because he failed. It fell apart because he refused to endure boredom long enough to succeed. He never stuck with anything long enough for it to grow. He never gave his investments time, his skills time, or his habits time. The world rewards those who stay boringly consistent for years, while everyone else chases noise for days. Michael never lasted long enough to reach the moment where everything accelerates. He quit in the quiet phase, the phase where most people quit, the phase right before suddenly. So what separates Michael from the people who actually get rich? What turns the average American into the rare outlier who breaks the cycle? The next section reveals the exact principles that create the gap the behaviors that build wealth in a world where human nature destroys it. Most people believe wealth comes from some secret formula or hidden tactic the rich are keeping from them, but the truth is far more uncomfortable. Wealthy Americans behave differently, not once, not occasionally, but every day, for years, in ways the average person refuses to replicate. These aren't tactics, they're behaviors. Deeply psychological, painfully consistent, and almost always boring. But they form the foundation that separates those who rise from those who stay stuck where they started. Here are the 5 behaviors that fundamentally change a person's financial trajectory. Principle 1. Discipline beats intelligence. In America, countless smart people stay broke. Intelligence doesn't protect you from reckless decisions, hype chasing, or debt. Meanwhile, ordinary people quietly build real wealth through consistency. Discipline is the great equalizer. Saying no when you want to say yes. Controlling impulses, choosing stability over excitement, logic over ego, and the long-term over the temporary high of a purchase. Discipline means saying no to 5 minutes of happiness that causes 5 years of financial setback. Showing up when results are invisible, investing even when the market feels unpredictable, and sticking to a plan when everyone else is panicking. Motivation fades and intelligence collapses. Under emotional pressure, only disciplined lasts. That's why disciplined people build wealth, while smarter people wonder what happened. Principle 2. Boredom is a superpower. Here's the truth. People hate. If you can tolerate boredom, you can become wealthy. If you can't, life will always control you. Wealth building is repetitive and slow, saving a percentage of each paycheck, investing consistently, resisting distractions, sticking to a plan long after excitement disappears. But humans crave novelty and emotional stimulation, and that craving becomes financial poison. People abandon what works because it feels too simple. They ditch strategies that build wealth because they aren't fast enough. But the ones who win embrace the quiet, the dull, the predictable. Boredom isn't weakness, it's a filter. Consistency is more powerful than brilliance, and consistency only exists when boredom doesn't scare you. The ability to repeat smart actions year after year while others chase noise is a superpower more valuable than any trend. Principle 3. Emotional control is wealth. Money doesn't disappear because of math. It disappears because of fear, greed, envy, impatience, and insecurity. Markets punish the impulsive, business destroys the impatient, life crushes people who need constant validation. The wealthy aren't superior, they're simply calmer in moments where others lose control. When markets dip, the average person panics and sells low. The wealthy wait. When others rush into hype, the wealthy stay still. When others become jealous of someone winning faster, wealthy individuals stay focused on their own timeline. Emotional investing is financial self-destruction. Emotional control isn't just a trait, it is capital. To build wealth, you don't need superior intelligence, you need superior composure. Principle 4. Ownership over employment. You don't need to start a business, but you must own something. Skills, assets, systems, time. Working harder isn't enough. Relying on a paycheck is fragile. One job loss or economic shift can collapse everything. Ownership is the only real path to freedom. Employees think in hours, owners think in decades. Employees wait for instructions, owners make decisions. Employees earn only when working, owners build leverage. Leverage turns time into growth and consistency into compounding. Most people never experience ownership because they spend their lives protecting their paycheck instead of building autonomy. The wealthy build things that grow independently. Investments, skills, systems, networks, habits. Ownership isn't optional if you want freedom. It's essential. Principle 5. Think in decades, not days. This mindset shift separates everyone. Most people think in days or weeks. What can I get right now? They expect instant results, immediate progress, and give up the moment something takes longer than they hoped. This mindset is financial suicide. The wealthy ask, how long can I stay in the game? Compounding rewards endurance, not impatience. The average person sees a bad month and quits. The wealthy focus on 10, 20, and 30-year arcs. Thinking in decades changes everything. You stop chasing hype, stop comparing timelines, stop panicking over setbacks, and stop expecting overnight transformation. You start valuing consistency over excitement. You start respecting compounding instead of rushing it. You start making decisions aligned with your future instead of your feelings. Wealth is built by those who understand that the invisible years are where real foundations form. Now that you understand these principles, you can finally see how wealth actually grows, not through luck or brilliance, but through behaviors most people never learn, never practice, and never commit to long enough to see the results. Most people spend their entire lives believing wealth starts with money. They think it starts with income, career, or some magical opportunity that appears out of nowhere. But here's the truth no one wants to accept, because accepting it forces you to confront your own behavior. Wealth is not a financial condition, it's a behavioral one. It's not about how much you make, it's about how you think, how you react, how you adapt, and how consistently you can repeat smart decisions when life becomes unpredictable. Wealthy people aren't superhuman, they simply think differently from the majority in 6 fundamental ways. First, they delay gratification. They understand that every great reward has a waiting period. While most people chase what feels good today, wealthy individuals choose what actually benefits them 10 years from now. They sacrifice small pleasures so they can secure large freedoms later. Second, they embrace discomfort. They know growth feels painful at first. Learning new skills, building habits, sticking to a long-term plan. None of that is easy, but wealthy people accept discomfort as the price of admission to a better life. They run toward the friction everyone else avoids. Third, they study human nature. They understand that markets, trends, and opportunities all trace back to predictable human behavior. Fear, greed, impatience, envy, overconfidence. While others react emotionally, wealthy individuals recognize recurring patterns. They see through noise because they study the psychology driving it. Fourth, they ignore distractions. We live in a world designed to overwhelm the mind. News alerts, social media, endless comparisons, financial hype, emotional headlines. Most Americans drown in this noise without even realizing it's happening. The wealthy build filters. They choose what deserves attention and what deserves silence. Fifth, they commit to boring systems. They stay consistent with behaviors that compound over time, saving, investing, learning, tracking, evaluating, and adjusting. These systems are not glamorous, but they work. Wealth grows in monotonous routines, not in bursts of excitement. And finally, they build autonomy. They work toward freedom. Freedom of time, freedom of choice, freedom from fear, freedom from urgency. They're not chasing symbols of success. They're building a life they control. This is why most Americans don't fail, because they're incapable. They fail because they're distracted. They mismanage their attention. They chase noise. They let envy guide their decisions. They react to every emotional spike. They spend more time consuming than creating. They prioritize appearances over actual progress. Think about this for a moment. Every decision you make is either a vote for your future or a vote against it. Every dollar you save is a vote. Every dollar you waste is a vote. Every hour you spend learning is a vote. Every hour lost in distraction is a vote. Every temptation you resist builds strength. Every temptation you surrender to builds weakness. Every long-term move, no matter how small, compounds into something meaningful over time. Wealth isn't built by brilliance. It isn't built by hacks. It isn't built by timing or luck or flashy strategies. It's built by behavior repeated thousands of times. The small decisions you make daily, what you focus on, what you ignore, how you react, how you spend, how you resist impulses. These decisions shape your destiny more than any economic factor ever will. And here's the final, uncomfortable truth. The world rewards people who behave well for a very long time. Everyone else burns out chasing excitement. The wealthy don't win because they're smarter. They win because they can stay steady while others fall apart. They win because they can stay committed while others get bored. They win because they can think clearly when others panic. They win because they can ignore distractions when others drown in them. They win because they choose behaviors that compound, not for a week, not for a month, but for decades. And that single difference changes everything. If you're tired of repeating the same patterns that keep most people broke, and you're finally ready to build the discipline, patience, and long-term mindset that real wealth demands, let me know. Drop a comment that says, "I'm leveling up." It's a simple sentence, but it's a signal to yourself, not to me, that you're choosing growth over excuses. I see every comment, and I pay attention to the people who are serious about changing their future.